Have you ever just looked around and felt like the world is intentionally confusing? You know, that all the noise, the chaos, the constant stream of information is actually designed to keep you off balance? Well, today, we're diving into a powerful framework that says, yeah, that's not just a feeling, it's a feature of the system. But more importantly, we're going to uncover the one tool that you have that can override it all.
This one sentence right here is our starting point. It comes straight from the source material, and it completely reframes the confusion that so many of us feel. It's not just a random mess. It's a deliberate, calculated tactic. It's a move designed to soak up all your energy and keep your attention fixed on the outside.
And this is where everything changes. I mean, if the outer world is just a storm of deliberate chaos, what happens when we pull our attention inward? See, the ultimate battle for control, it's not out there. It's happening right here, right behind your eyes.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the solution, we first have to get a crystal clear picture of the problem. The source material calls this the outer protagonist, or, the matrix, basically an external system that runs on confusion and control. Let's look at a concrete historical example that the source uses as a kind of case study.
This table really breaks down the nuts and bolts of how this control works. Now, the source uses the Whitewater investigation from the 90s, not to make a political point, but to show us a blueprint. Look at that first row, official obfuscation. When you have concealed documents, inaccurate testimony, it reveals what the source calls the system's will to lie. So the simple takeaway is that the lie itself becomes the system's signature. It's how you know you're looking at it. And you see the same pattern with misusing accountability or creating chaos with so-called lost records. The core idea here is that these aren't system failures. This is the system working exactly as it's designed to.
So if the system's main strategy is chaos, why do we keep getting sucked into the game? Well, this is where a philosopher like Alan Watts has some incredible insight. He argued that our constant, almost frantic search for security, in a job, in a belief system, in some 5-year plan, is the actual source of our anxiety. It's the cage we build for ourselves, and the bait is the promise of safety in a world that's fundamentally insecure.
Okay, so we've defined the external problem, a system built on chaos that traps us using our own need for security. The solution, according to our sources, is all about recognizing this fundamental split that exists inside all of us, the inner self versus the outer self.
This idea comes straight from the teachings of Neville Goddard, and it really lays out the two versions of you. The outer man, we know this guy well, this is the part of you limited by your 5 senses, by logic, by what just seems possible in the quote-unquote real world. But the inner man, which Goddard says is your imagination, that's a whole different story. It has 0 limitations. It's the part of you that is the true recipient of all the promises of potential and power.
Now check out this verse. According to Goddard, this is a huge promise. But it's not about physically walking on a piece of land. No, it's a promise made directly to your inner man, to your imagination. It literally means that any state, any reality that you can stand upon in your imagination is yours for the taking in the physical world. I know, it's a bold claim, right? Well, let's look at the proof. All right, this is where the rubber really meets the road. We're going to walk through an absolutely fascinating story from Neville Goddard himself, where he details exactly how he used this principle to get out of what seemed like a totally impossible situation. So picture this, it's Barbados, right after World War II. Goddard's and his family want to sail back home to New York in May, but he's told flat out it's impossible. Every ship is booked solid for months, all the way through September. There are literally thousands of people on the waiting list ahead of him. To his outer, rational man, he was completely stranded. So instead of fighting the reality on the outside, he performed an action on the inside. And the technique here is so important. He didn't just think about being on the ship, he felt himself on the ship. He sat in a chair, got into that drowsy, meditative state, and he just looped one simple, sensory-rich action, walking up the gangplank. He could feel the rail in his hand, he could feel those mixed emotions of leaving family behind but being so happy to go home. He just did it over and over again until that inner action felt more real than the chair he was physically sitting in.
So how long do you think it took for the outside world to catch up to his new inner reality? Less than 24 hours.
The very next morning, the phone rings. He gets a call. Someone had canceled. He was being offered passage for his entire family on the very next ship, which would put him back in New York City on the 1st of May, the exact time he had intended all along.
His inner action literally forced the outer world to rearrange itself.
And look, this wasn't just some one-time fluke. The source gives another quick example of a blind woman with this awful long commute. She used the exact same technique. She had no idea how it would happen. She just sat in her chair and repeatedly lived in the feeling of riding in a car. Within just 2 days, a solution that seems like a miracle just appeared out of nowhere when two strangers organized the exact thing she had been imagining.
So, here's the crucial part. These aren't just interesting stories. They're a user's manual. They reveal a practical, repeatable method. Let's break down how you can actually build this into your own sovereign toolkit. The method itself is actually pretty simple. It's just 4 steps. First, you build a short little scene in your mind that implies your wish is already fulfilled. Second, you get into that relaxed, drowsy state, right on the edge of sleep. Third, you loop that little action in your mind's eye, over and over and over until it feels real. And finally, you just let yourself drift off to sleep while you're in that state of fulfillment. You're basically programming your subconscious mind with a new reality.
What's really cool is that a different source gives this exact same practice a modern, almost tactical name, Code 33, Preventative Care. And this reframes the whole act beautifully. It's not passive meditation, it's an active, strategic defense. By finding that inner stillness and focusing your imagination, you are actively cutting off the fuel source for that outer protagonist, which is your fear and your scattered attention.
This reveals the ultimate strategic shift. The real battle, it's not won on some chaotic external battlefield, it's won in the quiet of your own mind, before the physical war even begins. You establish the victory inwardly first, and then you just watch as the outer world rearranges itself to match it.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, this all points to a massive redefinition of who you actually are. The source material suggests that this whole complex matrix of chaos exists for one reason: to make you forget your own power. To make you forget that you're not some victim in the universe. You are the very mechanism through which the universe experiences and creates itself.
And so, that leaves us with the final and most empowering question. If your imagination is the blueprint, if your inner world really does create your outer one, then the only limit is what you're capable of imagining. The only real question left to answer is, what will you realize next?